Hi guys, welcome to the Monster Minion YouTube channel. Today I would like to share with you my opinion about Jan Frodeno book. I just finished it today actually, and it's a book that has been laying around for quite a while in our shelves, but I never got to read it, and now I finally did, and it was ridiculous. It was like a 2 days read. It really caught me, and I really pushed through because it was such a great read and I enjoyed it very much. So the book is the biography of Jan Frodeno. Some of you guys might know him. For those who don't, Jan Frodeno is a professional triathlete, a German professional triathlete. He won the Olympic Games in Beijing in 2008 and eventually went on to win the Ironman World Championship on Hawaii 3 times. He won in 2015, 16 and again in 2019. So quite impressive. The first one to win the Olympics, the triathlon, he's the first one to win the Olympic triathlon and an Ironman World Championship at the same time. And remember that he also won the Ironman World Championship 3 times. So quite a remarkable figure. And in his bio, he shares a lot of insights concerning his journey, how he got into sports. He talks about how he grew up in Germany and South Africa, how he got into sports, and then also later into triathlon. It was a very late point in time where he did his first triathlon competition. So I think he was 18 or 19 at the time. And if you consider that he won the Olympic Games in 2008 when he was 27, there's not really much time in between. So he had like not even 10 years going from his first triathlon to winning the Olympic title. So that's huge. I can't even wrap my head around that. How fast of a progress that is in terms of a lifetime career. All right, so I enjoyed this book very much, and I would like to give some details why I enjoyed this book so much. So first of all, this book gives great insight on Jan's bio, on his biography, and also on professional triathlon and life of a professional triathlete in general. So all the setting, the organization, the life, how it plays with the travel, with family, with competitions, with competitors, and all that. You get a pretty good view at that, and you get a pretty good peeks and insights what is specific about triathlon compared to, for example, team sports like football or basketball maybe. So it is a complete different kind of sports, where you have most of the time you have these lone wolves, but nevertheless, if you want to be very successful at this level, at world-class level, you have to have some social skills. That's the point of Jan, at least. So he has his setup, he has his team, he has his family support. From his parents, from his wife, from his teammates. He doesn't train alone. That's something that I would have assumed that most of the time Jan would train alone, but he doesn't. He has some sparring partners, also world-class triathletes. So that's something that was also new to me, that I thought these guys are very competitive and don't like to cross each other except within the races, and don't want to play with open cards, but obviously there are these exceptions. Also, what I very much enjoyed about the book is that it gives a great display over Jan's mindset and his attitude towards his profession and generally towards everything in life, every aspect in life. So he's a very positive guy, writes very, yeah, he has a fun way to write. I just say that. He has a very fun way to write. Somehow it's a little more politically correct than you would normally assume, because in sports you're generally very down to earth, and I know that you cannot write a book like you speak in sports, but he found a good middle way. So sometimes you see that the language in sports is just different, and he uses that, but most of the time he restrains himself from being too overly colloquial, let's say. What I found great about this book is that you see a lot of strategies that Jan applies. For example, mental strategies and to set up his team and to create an environment where he can prepare for the races, and to focus on certain highlights during the year, which are obviously Hawaii, but also preparational races. He gives a pretty much general overview over his life that enables him to put out this kind of results and to achieve this kind of results. He talks about nutrition, he talks about his everyday life, his family, and I think he's also kind of self-aware with his passion. So he says that he is more enjoyable if he can do his sports, his training, and if he doesn't, then he's kind of cranky, and if he's for example, if he's injured, he's not the same as if he can do his training on a regular basis. What I found impressive is that he's completely aware of his privilege, how his parents supported him. He grew up in Germany, but also in South Africa. His parents moved to South Africa when he was 9 or 10. And he also writes about his parents' remarkable support. For example, when his parents drove him to swim training on a daily basis, which was like an hour's drive there and another hour's drive back. You see that his parents were very supportive, and that he learned to appreciate that. He doesn't take things for granted. That's very inspiring. I think what's also remarkable about Jan is that his general positivity just transcends everything he does. Yeah, he writes about good times and bad times where he has been successful and he has to overcome disappointment, and it's like there's always something that he depicts as a takeaway. For example, when he writes that he had this great success of winning the Olympics, he writes that he was grateful for his team support and everybody believing in him, and he was grateful for everybody who believed in him. And later on, when he went on and tried to win his first world champion title in 2010, he had it almost in the bag, and then in the final race he would have had to rank, I think, top 4, then he would have been world champion. And sadly, that race really went down the gutter, so he ranked something 40 something, so very, very bad result, very disappointing, and he just missed the world champion title, and he was very disappointed, and years after, and he had a hard time overcoming this disappointment. But he writes in such a positive way that you can really feel with him and you can feel for him. Yeah, and finally he turned that disappointment into success, because he said that the key takeaways that he was able to extract of that disappointment made him a better person and a better athlete and a more successful athlete and a more ambitious athlete. So he's quite positive about everything he does and tries to look ahead instead of over-analyzing the past. Yeah, little surprising, he also writes about his ambition and his determination and discipline, which I would have assumed, but he really seems to be an exception even among the professional triathletes who are already very disciplined and ambitious. I think he's still an exception. So he's still in this top percent of professional triathletes, he's still an exception among them. For example, when he finished in 2017, when he had his this breakdown or whatever, I think he had some pain in the back where he couldn't continue the race, and then he just stopped for I think 10 or 20 minutes to overcome the pain, but he still finished that day. He still didn't want to quit. He still didn't want to give in and to just call it a day and go to the hotel, have a shower, and sit down and eat a pizza or something like that. He was on a mission. He needed to finish that mission, and even though he couldn't win the race, he kind of thought that to be a finisher is more important than to just win a race. Yeah, that's very sympathetic, and he also got very positive feedback for that. And I think most of the other athletes would not have finished, because what's the point if you're a pro in torturing yourself with the age groupers? So that's remarkable and very inspiring. And especially I've been to Hawaii as an age grouper, and there is a lot of suffering. You see a lot of suffering, and then you see the pros. You're somewhere in the middle of on the course, and they are already flying back and flying by, and you just see them, these gods, and you think, okay, they are on a different planet or in a different galaxy. It shows that they are still human. They are still humans, and I think it's a very, very sympathetic way to connect with the average people, with the average age grouper. So, well done, Jan. Yeah, and also sometimes, so he's very ambitious and disciplined, and but he is also he has a certain ease of mind. I would say it's not overly developed, this ease of mind, but you can see that he kind of made a journey from a very, very strict and very disciplined athlete towards a more relaxed and a balanced athlete. And this is also something that comes across pretty well in the book. Of course, I will not leave you without a quote from the book. And I picked one that I found surprising and also very telling about Jan's character, and also about his fears and his attitude and his personality. So this was prior to the 28 Olympics in Beijing, where, as I mentioned, Jan went on to take the gold medal. And this was 2 days prior to the race. I will read this in German, later translate, because I read this book in German. Okay. Fried glaubte fest daran, dass ich in Peking gewinnen könne. 2 Tage vor dem Wettkampf brüllte er in einer Videonachricht wörtlich: Nichts ist scheißer als Platz 2. Dieses Handyvideo wurde in den Wochen danach zum Running Gag, und wir haben es uns immer wieder angesehen. So there is this guy, Fried, which is a guy of his entourage who was convinced Jan could win the Beijing Olympics. And 2 days prior to the Olympic race, this guy, Fried, sent him a video message where he was screaming, "Nothing is more shitty than second place." And this video message on the mobile later became a running gag. Alright, and even more interesting, alle in meinem Umfeld glaubten, dass ich es packen würde, und sind auch nach China gekommen. Ironischerweise war ich der Letzte, der wirklich daran glaubte. So this is very telling of Jan's attitude. Everybody in his entourage believed that he could do it. he could win the Olympic title, and also came to China to watch him. Ironically, Jan was the last one to really start to believe in his capability and his victory. Yeah, that's very telling. And normally I would have assumed that it's exactly the other way around. You are the first to believe in yourself, and then you are going to convince others eventually. But it was different with Jan. He planned for it. He also kind of believed in it, but he had his doubts. But eventually, at some point, he lost his doubts. And maybe that was the key factor to eventually winning the title. All right, that was it. That was my short book review of Jan Frodeno's Question of Passion. I don't know where we got this, but it was on our bookshelf. If you enjoyed this, leave a comment. And if you have another book, another great book, maybe of an athlete, maybe some other inspiring figure, then please share, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Ciao!